Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee June and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based in Australia. And today we're going to be talking about some tips in terms of creating your own portable workspace. Now, for those of you who don't know, I tend to do quite a bit of traveling. Of course, COVID has hindered that a little bit in the last year, but I tend to actually move around a lot with my work. And there's quite often times where I'm not in my usual workspace at home and I might be at a cafe, I might be at a hotel, I might be traveling somewhere else, I might be in a camper van, that has happened before, and I need to kind of have some things integrated into my workspace when I'm traveling that aren't necessarily the same as when I'm at home. So today I wanted to give you guys some tips if you're moving around a little bit with your work in terms of photography and retouching. Hopefully these tips will help you out. There's definitely a few tips here that I wish that I had earlier on in my career, and I think it would have made my life a lot easier if I had taken some of these things into consideration when I was traveling. Before we get into the video today, I'd just like to thank today's video sponsor, which is ViewSonic. And ViewSonic reached out to me a couple of months ago and were kind enough to offer me one of their touchscreen portable monitors, the TD1655 model. This is a portable monitor that is built for digital nomads, business travelers, and other people who are working remotely. It can serve as a complementary touchscreen to a laptop or tablet. It has a portable 15.6-inch touch display and an anti-glare screen with full HD 1080p resolution. I've been using this portable monitor in conjunction with some of the other things I'm going to talk about today within the last few months while I've been traveling and working remotely at times. So I'm going to get into this a little bit more during this video as well and tell you guys some of the benefits of this monitor. However, I'm going to get straight into the video now and we're going to go through some tips for creating your own portable workspace as a photographer or retoucher. Okay, so for the first tip today, I'm going to put out there straight away that I think it's most important to invest in smaller, travel appropriate items for your kit when you're working remotely. So I think that this is definitely something that I didn't do early on. I took all of my very heavy gear overseas and when I was working remotely, and it was just, honestly, it was a nightmare. And I look back on those times and I'm like, I could have made my life so much easier if I had just invested in some smaller sized items or some more compact items that fit into a bag better. And I just didn't at the time. So unfortunately, that was really a hard lesson to learn, especially when I was traveling around the world at one point. That was really not the greatest experience with so much heavy gear. But as you guys know, with a lot of airlines in particular, you will have baggage limits, especially with carry-on baggage limits. And that's a lot of the time where your professional working gear will be stored. You'll generally have it on you quite a lot of the time, and you do tend to have a smaller limit for that kind of baggage. So it is hard to fit, especially being photographers and retouchers, it is hard to fit our usual working gear into that kind of size baggage. So as I said, my main tip for this is to start investing in some things that will really make your life easier when it comes to fitting in smaller items into your carry-on luggage especially, or even if you're not traveling via plane, it's still important to have things that are lightweight to keep your sizing down and to keep your kit relatively small. For example, I've downsized my camera kit for traveling in previous years, so I have a mirrorless kit now, which is really nice because that's a lot more lightweight in one regard especially. My regular camera kit that I use on a day-to-day basis with beauty and fashion photography is very heavy, and the lenses are heavy as well, so I tend to not take that as much during when I'm traveling or working remotely, and I tend to stick to my mirrorless kit. So it's just little things like that that can really make your life a lot easier when you're traveling. Now this really does lead into my second tip, which is to try and fit everything into a single bag. This is not always easy to do. This is not always going to be something that you can definitely do as photographers, especially because a lot of photography gear might take up a full bag as it is. However, I tend to be very selective when I'm traveling with my lenses, which particular lenses I'm taking with me. I usually find that if I take more than about 2 lenses, I don't always tend to use them, depending on what the trip is for, obviously. But more often than not, I only tend to use 1 to 2 lenses when I'm working remotely. And that's one way that I tend to fit everything into one singular bag. It is so much easier when you are carrying around 1 bag of equipment versus 2 or more. But as I said, this is understandable if you're not able to do this all the time, depending on the circumstance. You might be traveling for work and you might need more gear, which is unfortunate, but I would generally say for most people who are looking at doing their retouching or photography remotely, try and fit most of what you can into one bag. It's going to make it so much easier, especially if you have to go through airport security. that is sometimes a nightmare in itself. And the third tip we're going to talk about today is bring an extra monitor if you can. Now I'm just going to jump back for a second to ViewSonic's portable monitors and the one that I have, which is the TD1655 model. And as I said at the beginning of the video, this is a portable touchscreen monitor. I've found this to be such a valuable and efficient tool to be bringing along with me when I am working remotely, because although it does take up a little bit extra space in my bag, it is phenomenal for getting that efficiency back when you're working remotely. Sometimes it's very hard as retouchers or photographers to only be working with a screen this big. If you've got a laptop, you'll know exactly what I mean. And sometimes, especially if you're used to working on a desktop and then you're switching over to a laptop, it's very hard to see and do everything that you'd like on one little screen. However, using something as simple as the ViewSonic TD1655 has been super efficient for me because it's as simple as plugging it in to my laptop. It starts up immediately, and then I can have two screens that I can work on, one for my retouching on my laptop, and then I've got my ViewSonic screen where I can do a lot of my business related tasks like social media, course writing, emails. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes in photography business that I need to be doing sometimes, and it's just easy to do it with two screens. It's really changed the way that I work and the way that I've even worked at home with using this screen, because you can also plug it into a tablet. So even sometimes if I feel like working in a different area of my house altogether instead of my office all the time, it's just a nice change of scenery, and I can take my extra ViewSonic monitor and set up my workspace anywhere in the house. The TD1655 also comes with a touch pen, and this is great if you are worried about getting your screen a bit dirty or anything like that. Like sometimes I'm a bit specific with that with my screens, but it's great that it's got the touch pen as well, so you can easily navigate the monitor on its own as well. And on to the next tip. So my fourth tip is to ensure that all of your products are protected. This is actually a really, really important point that I want to push forward today, because I've heard so many horror stories. I have been in certain situations before where things have not been protected properly and things have broken or been scratched, and it's honestly just the worst when you're working remotely. So I always recommend having covers for your screens, making sure that your lens caps are attached correctly, making sure that your lenses and cameras are padded enough in your camera bags, and especially making sure that any hard drives or memory cards are properly protected in hard cases. That's something that I really recommend that everyone does, and it's something that's really easy to forget until the last minute. And sometimes it's easy to think, well, they'll be fine, it won't be an issue, I'll just be careful, but things get really easily knocked around when you are traveling from place to place or when you are working with a portable workspace. So I definitely recommend that you guys make sure that everything is protected properly. And then my last tip for today is actually relating to hard drives, and that is to ensure that you do have portable backup options. So whether this is using backups via a cloud system online or whether you're using portable hard drives that you can take with you, either way is totally fine. I like to have a combination of both, but it's really important as well to make sure that your files are properly organized. There's nothing worse than switching from maybe a desktop at home to then using your tablet or laptop, and then your files are completely disorganized. So the ways that I like to do this obviously are by using hard drives and making sure that everything is streamlined, everything is easy to back up when I'm taking more photos, especially if I'm taking photos while working remotely as well, but also for retouching. I just like to make sure that all the file organization is really where it needs to be. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video today on some tips for creating a portable workspace for yourself. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do, because I'll be posting lots more related content in future. And if you guys are interested in checking out the ViewSonic TD1655 model of portable monitor, I would highly recommend going and checking out the link in the description box below, especially if you guys are after a secondary monitor. Like I said, this is a great monitor to have at home, but also for on the go for any business purposes that you might have in conjunction with your laptop or tablet. So thank you guys so much for watching this video again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!